The Through the Eyes of Jesus podcast is proud to partner with the Ministry League Network. This network aims to produce, distribute, and promote quality resources, devotionals, and podcasts to benefit individuals and local congregations for God's glory. You can learn more about Ministry League by visiting ministryleague.com or by clicking on their link in the show notes. We hope you enjoy another episode of the Through the Eyes of Jesus podcast as we seek to look at worldly problems from a godly perspective.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Through the Eyes of Jesus podcast. I'm not going to do a crazy introduction like Isaiah would, but I have a special guest joining me today. You never heard him on the show before. His name's Isaiah Leiniger. Sounds familiar, right?
I would hope so.
All right, Isaiah, I have no idea what we're doing today, so it's up to you. Go ahead.
Well, you have a little idea.
You're talking about something.
Wow. Okay, you have no idea. So we are continuing on in season 8 today, and we're actually going to be talking about a mission trip that I went on a few weeks ago at the time of this recording. It's going to be a little bit longer when this episode comes out, but just came back from this mission trip a few weeks ago. And so we really wanted to use this episode to encourage people to think more about short-term missions. With this season, we've had a lot of people come on and talk about their different experiences as a missionary, and oftentimes that includes spending years, even decades in one area of the world, teaching and preaching and evangelizing and edifying that congregation there, or that the church there in that area. And that's amazing. That's fantastic. And we want to encourage people who are thinking about full-time mission work to continue thinking about full-time mission work. But there's also short-term mission work. And that's what myself and some other students from Freed-Hardeman did. I think about 250 of us over spring break went on mission trips all over the world. And so my group went up to Spencer, Wisconsin.
That's a tiny little town, isn't it?
It's a tiny little town. Yeah, it's just about 2,000 people or so.
So, is it smaller than Henderson?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a small town out in the middle of nowhere.
Small. Wow.
You ain't seen nothing yet, buddy.
Right.
But yeah, it's a small little town out in the middle of nowhere, but the congregation there is about 80 to 90 people. And just super, super amazing congregation.
Pretty good sized congregation for a 2,000 population.
Well, absolutely. I mean, well, they get folks from about an hour, around. People will drive an hour to be at services because there's just not a whole lot of congregations up there in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, right as we were about to leave, they were about to start a rebuilding project because the building that they have right now is too small.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been growing very steadily over the past couple of years. And so they decided it's about time to get a new building. And I can promise you, when we added the 20 of us into that building, it got pretty cramped pretty quickly.
Packed in like sardines.
Oh, absolutely. But it was amazing. It was such a good trip. And so I guess we'll just kind of go ahead and talk about how I got involved in that.
Yeah, and talk about the preparation that it took for that short-term mission.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started planning that in October. I'm not in a social club here at Freed. Most of the mission trips that are organized by students here at Freed are by social clubs. And so they have, spots that maybe they'll go every year, or, maybe they'll go to one of the mission chairs, home congregations or something like that. But like I said, I'm not in a social club. Don't have anything against social clubs, just not my thing.
Same here.
It's a little bit different for you, but close enough.
Sure.
Because you're close enough with the club that you can count being a member without actually being a member.
I affiliate with them. Yes.
Yeah, you're affiliated. Yeah, that's more than what I have. Point is, I'm not in a social club.
You're affiliated with the Jesus Club.
I'm affiliated with the Through the Eyes of Jesus Club. And that's about it. I don't have time for anything else.
Within itself.
Basically, very exclusive.
You haven't paid your dues yet, though.
You haven't paid me. Anyway, as you can tell, this episode is going to be very interesting. But so, like I said,
it's just you and I. We have no guests to keep us straight.
Yeah, for real. No guests. No logic. It's about the same as normal.
Yep.
Anyway,
we got Grace over here, but she ain't gonna say nothing.
Anyway, so I reached out to Dr. Kevin Moore here at Freed-Hardeman, who is the chair of the missions department. And I said, hey, is there any independent mission trips being planned right now? And he said, well, there's not one being planned, but if you'd like to plan one, then, here's the contact for the Spencer Church of Christ. And it's a brother named Clint Neiman. And so I got in contact with Clint. And the two of us started working together about how we were going to do this. And the great thing about this mission trip, especially since it was not only the first one that I had planned, but the first one that I had been on, they had figured out a lot of stuff already. They've had several groups of students from Freed-Hardeman come up and do something similar to what we did that week. And so they already knew how to solve the transportation issue and the housing issue and the food issue, which are three pretty big issues when you're trying to plan a mission trip. Is trying to figure out.
Say so myself.
Yeah, right. Trying to figure out how to get there, where you're going to stay when you get there, and you should probably eat once or twice while you're there as well. But like I said, this congregation was just super welcoming, super hospitable. They own a bus. The congregation owns a bus for this express purpose, and so they sent the bus down from Wisconsin to Tennessee, picked us up, drove us up to Wisconsin, and then drove us back down to Tennessee at the end of the week before, having to drive themselves back up to Wisconsin. It's probably a 12, 13-hour trip one way. So that was a lot of driving for those gentlemen that came and picked us up. But like I said, we were super, super appreciative of that. We got to stay in the houses of the members of that congregation, and several of them even loaned us their cars, their personal vehicles, to help us get around, especially those that were staying a little bit farther away from the church building.
Well, that's sweet of them.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they were amazing, and they also made sure to feed us every day.
That's good.
Yeah, we like food. We like food, and so.
So y'all didn't have any issues with food or housing, or transportation,
which is a huge, huge blessing, and that's not something that you're going to be able to find all the time. But I mean, like I said, the people up there were so amazing. I mean, we kind of joke about how nice Midwesterners are sometimes, but it's a real thing. They are super, super nice people up there. But anyway,
only if you could be the same way.
You know what, Walker? I try to be nice to you, okay? I try to be nice to you. Anyway, so like I said, Clint and I, we started planning that in about October, and the mission trip took place in the end of March. So we had, couple months in there to get ready for it. The biggest thing at first was just recruiting. We needed at least 20 people to come on the trip in order to be able to do all the things that we wanted to do. And so once we, got this idea rolling, let's get a group going up to Spencer, Wisconsin. The recruiting was a lot on me. Of course, Clint was going to help with a lot of other things, and he did help with a lot of other things, including not limited to driving the bus. But recruiting was on me, and so we had, I had it announced in chapel and got one or two responses. But the biggest thing that I found when trying to get this put together is just go up and ask people. And so I would shoot people personal messages on Facebook or over text. I would go up to them in person and just say, hey, I'm helping organize a trip to Wisconsin, and I would love for you to be a part of it. And so that, if you at home are taking notes about how to plan a short-term mission trip, there's step number one: find yourself a good team. The trip would not have been nearly as successful as it was had the people that came not been as awesome as they were. There's only so much that I could have done. There's certain things that I don't have the talents for. For instance, I am not super comfortable teaching small children. That's not my skill set. That's not something I've done a whole lot. Put me in front of adults, put me in front of teenagers, I can do that. But small children...
Put you in front of a podcast mic.
Yeah, put me in front of a podcast mic where I don't actually have to look at anybody. But
except me.
Yeah, except you. But the point is, that's not my skill set. But luckily, I knew several people here on campus, especially several young ladies, where they are just amazing at that. They are so good with small children. They, and the kids just love them. And so finding the right team was a big, big deal. And like I said, I'm blessed to know a lot of great people. And so we ended up taking 23 people, myself included, up to Wisconsin. It was supposed to be 25, but unfortunately we had a couple drop out at the last moment due to some personal problems. And we were very upset about that. We were very much looking forward to having them on the trip, but we understood that they had some things come up. They were not able to join us, but so it ended up being 23 of us, myself included, going up to Wisconsin. And
23 is still a good number.
Yeah, 23 was an awesome number. Like I said, we needed 20, and I think the maximum that we could have is 27 or 28.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a sweet spot right in there, and we hit it. We didn't have so few people that there wasn't really a point in us going up there, but we also didn't have so many people that people were just kind of standing around not being able to do anything. Everyone was busy. So the primary reason that we went up to Spencer, Wisconsin is to put on a VBS. So we got there on Saturday and started the VBS on really Sunday. It started technically on Monday, but the lessons on Sunday tied in to the theme as well during the week. And the theme was fulfilled. What was written has come true. And so we were talking about different prophecies about Jesus. And so Sunday morning, the Bible classes talked about Jesus's birth and the prophecies relating to Jesus's birth. And then on Monday, we talked about Jesus's death. Tuesday was Jesus's resurrection, and Wednesday was Jesus's return. And so the classes were all dedicated to either prophecies about Jesus's, death, burial, resurrection, return, life, whatever, or for the smaller kids, just on the event itself. We didn't want to try and teach prophecy to preschoolers. It would have been a little bit difficult. But kudos to the girls and to the guys that did teach those younger classes, because they did a phenomenal job. They just did so good. But it was what was awesome about this trip. Well, there's a lot of awesome things about this trip, but the congregation up there at Spencer had actually already scheduled Jeff Jenkins, someone who's been on this show before, to be in Spencer at the same time we were. And so we got to work together alongside Jeff Jenkins. He did the Sunday morning sermon. And then for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we had the adult class split in half. And so we had a student here from Friedharbin do the first half, and then Jeff Jenkins would do the second half. And so the students would take, prophecies about death, burial, resurrection, return, that kind of thing. Or I guess just death, resurrection, and return. And then Jeff would talk about something else. So he talked about prophecies about the kingdom. He talked about prophecies about Jesus's heart. And there's one more, but I don't have my notebook on me, so I don't remember exactly what it was. But
so was it like a split class on the evening time?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So the students would take the first 20, 25 minutes, and then they would wrap up usually with a prayer, and then Jeff Jenkins would get up. And so it was really, really cool.
That's a unique approach. I like that.
It was very interesting. It was not what we had initially planned, and I guess I'll just go ahead and get into that now. If you're taking notes about short-term mission work, know that you will never be prepared as much as you want to be prepared.
Plan for the unexpected.
You can try.
Yeah.
You can try to plan for the unexpected, but there's going to be things that pop up that you're not ready for. At least there was on this trip. And part of that is just because, like I said, it's the first time that I've been on a mission trip. And part of that was it snowed when we got up there. And so that we had to adjust some of our plans because of the snow. And then, just other things like that, trying to fit different things into the schedule and other things like that. And so nothing went according to plan. I say nothing. Some things didn't go according to plan. But that was okay. And that was something that I had to wrestle with a lot, because as someone who put a lot of time trying to get this organized, trying to make sure that everyone was in the right spot that they could be in to succeed, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that everything went smoothly. And when things didn't go exactly as they planned, or when things, when plans had to change just because of people's schedules or the snow or whatever it may be, that was difficult for me. So again, if you're taking notes, learn to go with the flow, because there are going to be things that happen that you're not ready for. You can try and be prepared as much as you want, and that's awesome. Be prepared. But you have to realize
life happens.
That life happens. You have to realize that sometimes things are going to pop up that you're not ready for. And so that was actually one of them. When Clint and I were planning this, the initial thought was Jeff Jenkins was just going to preach on Sunday morning, and then the kids from Friedharbin were going to get to do the entire adult class, and then the elders of the congregation decided they wanted to hear Jeff Jenkins speak a little bit more, which is completely understandable.
Right.
But we just had to figure out, okay, how is that transition going to work? Are they going to talk about the same topic? Are they, how are we going to have two people teach, in the same Bible class period and not make it be awkward, not have one stepping over the other, not having one, pull back into the shadows.
Just turn it into a podcast setting.
Yeah.
There's your solution.
Well, we didn't do that, but that could have worked as well. But yeah, so just things like that, just trying to figure out how to make sure everything went smoothly. But like I said, there were some things that didn't go according to my plan, but they went a lot better than what I could have planned. Case in point was the decorations. We tried to just kind of be simple and not put a whole lot of budget into the decorations. And so, we had a couple things here and there. And so we went out between services on Sunday and we bought all of the things that we were going to need for decorations. And then Monday, we decorated the entire building, which, like I said, wasn't a super big building, but there were still several things that we were trying to do. And I was worried out of my mind, pulling out my hair, worried that we weren't going to get everything done by the time VBS started that night. And not only did we get everything done with plenty of time, but I had some awesome people who went above and beyond, coming up with different decorations and adding onto it and improving on the things that Sarah Korfman and I, who helped, she helped make the decorations and design the decorations. It was better than anything we could have imagined. For instance, we made a little tomb on the stage to help us think about Jesus' death and resurrection. And that's actually a part of the decorations. Each room was dedicated to a different part of the VBS. So we had the pre-K room, which we had green tablecloth cut out, and we cut out these pictures of sheep and glued cotton balls to them. And then we had an angel up there, and so it's the angel appearing to the shepherds at Jesus' birth, right? And then for the first and fourth grade room, we had another tablecloth. This time it was blue, cut out in waves, and we had a boat and a picture of Jesus, and so it was Jesus walking on the water, right, talking about Jesus' life. And then out there on the stage, we had the tomb, right, talking about his death and his resurrection. And then in the middle school class, we had another blue tablecloth put up on the wall with clouds glued up around it and angels, and it's Jesus returning, right? So each room or each part of the building tied into a different part of the VBS, which is a really cool idea that Sarah Clinton, one of them, had. But like I said, some people just went above and beyond. I'm just going to name some names, and if they're listening to this episode, then they're going to get called out. And even if they're not listening to this episode,
they're still going to
get called out. So I don't even know who to start with because there's just so many. I guess I'll start with Jonathan Kroll. He and his daughter Maya. Jonathan is the dean's husband, and so he and two of his kids came up with us, and so he had this great idea to get this huge sheet of paper and make it look like an old scroll. So, he painted it and he kind of ripped the edges up a little bit and he made it look like an old scroll. And on that scroll, he wrote a verse where Jesus said, in your sight, this prophecy has been fulfilled. I think it's somewhere in Luke chapter 4. And so we had that hanging up there. And then Maya, she and Jonathan worked together to get 3 crosses put up because we had a bit of empty space on one side of the auditorium. And so we put 3 crosses on one side, and on the other side we had the Star of Bethlehem with Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus underneath it. And so we had all of that in the auditorium, and then going down the sides of the auditorium we had smaller scrolls, each one with a different prophecy on it, one about his birth, one about his death, one about his resurrection, that kind of thing. And just for those listening, if I'm not doing a good job visually or explaining this audibly, if you go to the Juneau Church of Christ Facebook page and find the Bible class section from April 21st, you will be able to see a bunch of pictures. I did a presentation there at the Juneau Church of Christ about this mission trip. They gave some money to help get us up there. And so you can go and see that PowerPoint and hear a little bit more about this and see all the pictures that we took. But anyway, so the Krolls were fantastic. They did so much just throughout the week in general, but especially with the decorations. That was awesome. And then there was a girl named Brooke Wheeler. She was helping with the first through fourth grade room. talk, which of course, as I mentioned, was about Jesus's life, right? And so we had coloring pictures of different events from Jesus's life taped to the wall, and we had that scene with the tablecloth where that we cut out to make look like waves, where Jesus is walking on the water towards the boat. And she realized that we had an extra blue tablecloth. We went out and we had bought a bunch. We weren't sure exactly how many we were going to need. But she realized that we had an extra one. And so she ended up taping that to the ceiling in such a way that it blocked like half of the light and made it look like you were underwater in that classroom. It was so cool. It's just such a great job. And then John Luke Rogers, another student at Free, he was tasked with making the only way that we could describe it as a totem pole. We didn't really know how else to describe it, but essentially it was 5 cardboard boxes taped together. And on each side of the cardboard box, we had a sheet of paper, and John Luke wrote on it, what is fulfilled, what was written has come true, and then Jesus's birth, death, resurrection, and return on it. And with each of those 4 sections there about, the different prophecies that we were going to be looking at that week, John Luke just went crazy. The artistry on that was insane. And he put some tissue paper around the edges of that to make it kind of stand out a little bit. And that was so cool. It looks so good. Again, if you want to see a picture of this, it should be in the Juno presentation there, April 21st in the Bible class section. But the point is, there were so many people that just went above and beyond. Edison Bogus, as well as Maya Kroll and Sarah Korfman, we were having trouble getting the tomb set up at first, and they kind of pushed me aside and said, "Hey, you go worry about other stuff. We got this." And when I came back, it was awesome. They had figured out a way to make it look even better than what I could have imagined. So just the people there were amazing, and it wasn't just with the decorations. It was throughout the week. So not only did we do the VBS, right? We did that in the evenings, but we did some community service things in the morning, especially on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Well, I think a great lesson that you just stated from what you talked about is that trusting your team.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought on a lot of people, and maybe some of them you didn't know that well and stuff, but they showed up and showed out. And
Absolutely.
It seems like they went above and beyond what they were asked to do. And
100%.
You trusted in your team.
100%. Yeah.
That's key to your success.
Yeah. I think, honestly, the only reason that the mission trip went as well as it did, there's 2 reasons. One, we were doing the work of the Lord, right? And so God helped us out a lot, especially, with safety there and back and things like that. But yeah, the team was awesome. And that's just, a blessing of me being on this campus and getting to know some people who are awesome. Some of them were my friends. Some of them were friends of my sister, and that's how I met them, or, friends of a mutual friend. And, like I said, I had some people reach out to me directly and be like, "Hey, I want to come on this mission trip." But most of them were people that I went to and I said, "Hey, I'm helping lead this mission trip. I think you would be a huge asset." And they were like, "Yeah, I'd love to come." And so, there's another lesson for you. You may get a few responses if you just kind of post it on the bulletin board or have someone announce it. But the best way to do it is to find people who are going to do a good job, or find people who have the potential to do a good job. And then, like you said, Walker, just trust in them, right? Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that I did was I didn't do a whole lot during the mission trip itself. I was just kind of there, trying to help make sure everything went smoothly. Before the mission trip, though, like I said, I did a lot of recruiting. And then once we met our minimum, Clint and I, we came up with a theme. That was Clint's idea, actually, and I thought it was a great theme. And then, once I had all of the people signed up, once the deadline to sign up had passed, it was my responsibility to put them in different positions, right? So, if this girl wanted to teach 1st through 3rd, I would try to make sure that she got a chance to teach 1st through 3rd that week. Or if this guy wanted to teach high school, I would try to make sure that he got an opportunity to teach the high school class that week. And then once they got their assignments, they were off, and whether it was doing a Devo or helping with a kids class or baking cookies for some of the other events that we went to. I mean, like you said, Walker, they just went above and beyond. They were phenomenal. So like I said, I didn't do a whole lot during the mission trip itself. I just kind of got to sit back and pull my hair out a little bit because I was stressing myself out. But the team was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just a worry wart, so that's why I was stressing myself out, because I was trying to make sure everything went smoothly. But I mean, the team was awesome, and that's the only reason that the trip was as successful as it was. Them and the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the people. They just had such huge servant hearts, and so, you know, not only was that shown interacting with the members of the congregation, especially the kids. You know, that was a big part of what we wanted to do is interact with the kids and encourage them and help them. But when we went out into the community, there were so many people that just stood out.
Mm-hmm.
We went to, on Tuesday, we went to a house for domestic abuse victims,
Mm-hmm.
for women and children who are trying to hide from their abuser. We went and cleaned there. And on Wednesday, we went to the Ronald McDonald House, which is where the families of sick children can stay while their kids in the hospital. And we cleaned there as well. And I mean, you know, we got there and it was instant. They're like, what can we do? How can I help? You know, they would finish a task. They would come up to me or they would come up to someone else and like, all right, I finished that. What else can I do? You know, it was just so amazing to see their servant hearts. We also went to 5 different nursing homes throughout the week, and we sang hymns to the residents.
Wow.
And there were several occasions where I would peek over, and one of the students from Freed had left the group, had left where we were standing or where we were sitting to go over and hold a songbook for one of the nursing home residents, or just to sit next to them, or you know, to go over and just talk to them for a little bit. It was just so amazing to see their servant hearts. I keep using that phrase, but it's so true. The people on that trip were just so amazing, and they were so dedicated to helping people, and they were so dedicated to just trying to just show people Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, you know, again, if you're taking notes at home, that should be the ultimate goal. I know a lot of other mission trips, especially ones here at Freed, they focused more on evangelism. We focused more on encouragement and edification. But whatever your focus is, whatever your purpose is, if you're not glorifying God, if you're not showing people Jesus, then there's no point in going. You know, there's no point of you being there unless you're going to teach people about Jesus, unless you're going to show people Jesus through your action, through your attitude. And like I said, I'm blessed to know so many people here on campus that do that every single day. And they brought that 100% up to Wisconsin. You know, even though we had to get up early every day, even though they could have been sleeping in at home, or they could have gone to a mission trip where they didn't have to bring snow boots, they didn't complain at all. Like I said, it was amazing. The people that I got to go on that trip with were amazing.
Wow. You know, you mentioned earlier about, you know, people who had originally signed up and, you know, backed out and stuff. I'm sure there's other times whenever there was adversity in the trip. How did the team respond to adversity?
Like it didn't even happen.
That's great.
I think I was the only one who really responded to it. Everyone else was really, you know, let's just kind of go with the flow. You know, we're here, we're going to serve wherever we're needed, we're going to serve. You know, but like you mentioned, there were a couple people who had to drop out for personal reasons, and we missed having them up there. Both of them would have been a great asset to the trip as well. Just tremendous people, both of them, Jaden and Lacey. But I mean, in terms of adversity, like I said, they just kept going, you know, and there were some things that, you know, were kind of changed on us last moment, you know, just because of necessity. For instance, we get there on Sunday morning, and of course we're teaching the classes on Sunday morning. And so we had prepared for 1st through 3rd, 4 through 8, and then high school. But just because of how many kids showed up that morning, they ended up combining classes and making it 1st through 4th and then 5th through 8th. And so, you know, those two teachers had no preparation whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
But they were just kind of thrown in a room together. And so they just had to make it work. And then, you know, we ended up adjusting the schedule for the rest of the week. And so, you know, all the other teachers who were supposed to teach 4 through 8 or junior high now are supposed to come together and figure out how to teach 5th through 8th. excuse me, and, you know, kind of combine their lesson plans and their activities and figure out what was going on. And they handled it. You know, they handled it like a champ. What was it difficult on certain occasions? Absolutely. You know, and was it stressful for them? Absolutely. But they knocked it out of the park.
That's awesome.
And like I said, just you mentioned this earlier, but there were some folks on there on the trip that I didn't know super well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I knew them well enough that I can invite them to come. But there were several people who I didn't know super well who just stood out to me so much. I already mentioned Brooke. I didn't know her super well, but she was one of those people that I constantly saw just reaching out to people, whether they were little kids or folks in the nursing home. She would just talk to people and you know, make them feel comfortable, make them feel like someone cared about her or someone cared about them. Cameron Neiman, who is the nephew of Clint Neiman, the guy that helped organize the trip with me. I didn't know him really at all. Had never really talked to him, but he was super great with the kids. And he, you know, he's not someone, and I hope he's okay with me saying this. He's not someone who's super comfortable just getting up and leading in front of people. But when he was asked to do that, when he was called upon, he did it, and he did it tremendously. Sager Blackman was someone that I got to see really a different side of than I had gotten to see before. At school, he's kind of, you know, he's a little bit of a goofy guy at school, but he also knows when to be serious. Mm-hmm. And so getting to see that and getting to see him interact with the kids, we had him up there pretty much every night, if not every night, helping, you know, lead the songs before classes. And he was, you know, just getting the kids into it, and he was talking with them, and he was, you know, getting them to enjoy themselves. And that's just, you know, a small handful of people. You know, there were several other people who stepped up and did things that I wasn't, you know, I didn't think they were going to do. Mm-hmm. And there were several people who I knew what they were going to do, and they still exceeded my expectations. Like the three young guys, Edison, Alex, and Hunter, who taught the adult class. I got to sit in on the adult class each night, and they all just did tremendous. You know, and the topics that they were given, the verses that they chose, the way that they brought up their point was just tremendous. And Jeff Jenkins got up and said so each time afterwards. It's like, man, you guys are terrific. And I don't think that was just him being nice either, because Alex, Edison, and Hunter all did a great job. And there was some adversity there as well. You know, like I said, we had initially planned on doing something a little bit different for the adult class, and so we had to figure out a way to meet what the elders were wanting us to do, while still trying to get our people experience and you know, a chance to get to teach in a new environment. But you know, there's just so many people that just stepped up, that did whatever we needed them to do. And you know, teaching things like Jesus' death and Jesus' resurrection, especially to some of the smaller kids, or Jesus' return in general, those are some tough subjects. Right? Clint and I didn't go easy on them when we picked that theme. I think it was a really good theme, especially in the adult class. The adult class was phenomenal each time. Jonathan Kroll also taught the adult class on Sunday morning and did a fantastic job. But some of the teachers for the younger kids, they had to figure out how to explain what a prophecy is. They had to figure out how to explain, you know, Jesus dying on the cross to younger kids, and they just did a tremendous job with it. With, you know, between crafts and activities, and just bringing those details down to kids, you know, to kids levels was phenomenal. And then we had another girl, Riley. We initially had wanted to have a ladies class as well, not just an adult class, but have a guys class and a girls class. But just due to space in the building, we ended up not being able to do that. And so Riley was supposed to teach one of those ladies classes, and you know, she was supposed to teach a ladies class one day, and then I think maybe a pre-K class a different day. And then when we ended up canceling the ladies class, all she had was the pre-K class. Well, then one of our members goes down. One of the two that I talked about earlier, you know, had to step out. And so I called Riley in a panic, literally the night before we left for Wisconsin. And I was like, hey, you know, so-and-so just had to drop out. I need you to fill in for them and help in both of their classes. And Riley was like, okay. And went in there and did a great job. And, you know, was super awesome with the kids all week. And I mean, I could just go on and on. I could literally just go down the list and talk about different things that people did that week, to encourage, to build up, just to do something for this trip.
Wow.
Like I said, I could just go on and on and on about each one of these people. Several of my good friends were on there. Several people that I am now good friends with. Just awesome people, awesome trip, and I am so thankful that that opportunity was presented to me to help get that organized, but also just the fact that it went well. You know, I like I said, I started helping to organize that way back in October, and so that's, you know, October, November, December, January, February, March. That's like 6 months of planning. And I know some mission trips, you know, they plan a little bit longer than that. Some mission trips they plan a little bit less than that. Just kind of depends on the time frame, but that was a decent chunk of time where I was, you know, trying to recruit and trying to organize and trying to, you know, just make sure that things got figured out. And so I, you know, just the fact that it went well, the fact that, you know, we got up there safely, we got back safely, you know, we were super encouraged. The host families just loved the kids that were staying with them, especially the host families with small children. You know, having some of our guys and girls over there and just kind of hanging out with them at night and playing with them was, you know, just a great bonding experience. We had a couple game nights throughout the week, and so, you know, we got to just hang out with the kids there at the building as well. And so, you know, it was awesome just to go up there and build relationships with those kids. We got off the bus actually get back in Henderson, and someone looks at me and goes, "So we're doing this again next year, right?" And I was like, "We just got off the bus. Let me rest a little bit first before I answer that question, you know." But
wait, I was about to ask you the same question. If they're planning to return, so
not at the time of recording.
Okay.
But that's simply just because, you know, we haven't talked about it. If it happens, it happens. And you know, maybe
Would you go back?
I would like to be maybe a little bit of a lesser part and actually kind of get to step back and enjoy the mission trip a little bit instead of trying to be the one to organize it. But yes, absolutely. So what I'm saying is I would like less responsibility and just get a chance to hang out more with the kids and, you know, maybe teach a class or two. Because like I said, I didn't do a whole lot during the mission trip itself. I did one Devo, you know, in the morning and one Devo. So we went to an after school program called Spencer Kids Corner, and we were there for about an hour. We helped feed the kids, and then we did a little Bible lesson with them. And that was another thing that was kind of sprung on us. The plans changed with that a little bit, just because, you know, some people thought we were doing this and some people thought we were doing this. And so, you know, that's another thing. If you're taking notes, you can never over communicate. All right. That is something that you can never do. So
We learned that through this podcast.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, no matter how many times you said, "Hey, we're meeting here at this time," you're probably going to have someone ask you that. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but just make sure that you communicate as much as you can. There's no way to over communicate.
Power and automated
Yeah, for real, something like that. But anyway, you know, so we went to the Spencer Kids Corner, and we did a little like just 5-minute Devo with them. That was a day, because so we get there, you know, a few minutes before the kids do, and we, you know, set up the food, and then we sit down, and the kids get there and they sit down and they eat, and then we do 4 or 5 VBS songs with them. And so it's myself and a couple other guys up there, you know, dancing with these VBS songs, you know, doing the Hippo song, doing, you know, This Little Light of Mine, that kind of thing. And the Hippo song was the last one that we did before the Devo. And like I said, I was doing that little Devo with the kids. And of course, if you know the Hippo song, you know that the Hippo song gets really, really fast. And there's really, really big movements. And so we did probably 4 or 5
like
verses.
hippopotamus-sized movements.
Oh, hippopotamus-sized movements. And so we did probably 4 or 5 different, you know,
hippopotamus-sized
movements. Different renditions of that song, you know, increasing the speed each time. And so, you know, we do the Hippo song for the last time, and I'm up there just, you know,
Typically, how you are after a podcast episode.
Well, a little bit. I don't usually dance in a podcast episode, though. But the point is, I was already out of breath. And then, because it was little kids, I tried to put some energy into it and, big body movements and stuff like that. And so I was even more out of breath after that. And then some of the little kids tried to get me to play tag with them. And I was like, I'm going to die if I do this. And then I did it anyway. And, I'm still,
And you're still standing.
well,
What a blessing.
sitting at the moment. But yeah,
Yes.
point is, I say all this to say short-term mission trips are amazing. It did so much good for us. It did so much good for that congregation up there and for the community. And, we like I said, we got there late Saturday night and we left early Friday morning. So we weren't even there a full week. But still the impact that we had, and I'm not trying to say this as if I'm boasting, right? I'm not trying to say that we're the best missionaries of all time or anything like that. But just going up there and showing those kids that we care about them, showing that congregation that there are still young people who want to work for the Lord, going out to the community, singing at those nursing homes, cleaning at the shelter for abused women and children, cleaning at the Ronald McDonald House, just doing all those things and just kind of helping the community, helping the congregation. I know a lot of the members of that congregation were very, very thankful to have us up there. And I should have said this earlier, but all glory to God with that, right? That's not us. That's Him giving us an opportunity to let Him work through us.
Mm-hmm.
So just all glory to Him. But I mean, short-term mission trips, you can do so much good with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, throughout this whole season, we've been talking about long-term mission trips and full-time missionaries, and those are amazing. And I'm so glad that we have people like the people that we've interviewed on this season. But don't underestimate the value of a short-term mission trip campaign, whether it's up to another state or whether it's with a congregation in your community, or even if you go overseas. My sister was a part of a group that, while I was up in Wisconsin, she was down in Costa Rica. So I was joking, of course, while we were buried in snow, man, I could have been in Costa Rica right now. But, point is, we had a trip to Costa Rica here from Freed, a trip to Mexico, a trip to Panama. And so much good was done by each one of those trips.
Trip to California and Oregon.
Yeah. I think there were 12 different trips in total. Like I said, a lot of them club trips, but also some independent trips as well. The one that we did was to Wisconsin was independent. I think there was another one to Ohio that was independent. But like I said, there was just so much good that was done just because of 250 people. 250 people, that's maybe a decent sized congregation.
Sure.
You may find congregations that are a little bit larger than that, but 250 is a decent sized congregation, but it's not a whole lot of people. There's probably 10 times that many students here on this campus. Maybe not quite 10 times, but close to it. Right? It's definitely over 2,000.
Sure. 2,500.
Yeah, 2,500. Yeah, so 10 times.
Yeah.
I can do math. So just a tenth of Freed Harbin's student population were able to go on these mission trips. And I'm sure there were more that wanted to but couldn't for whatever reason, like the two that I mentioned. But just a tenth of Freed Harbin's population, just a small fraction of people traveled to 12 different locations and did so much work in just a week. And like I said, my trip wasn't even there for a week. We got there on Saturday and left on Friday. And so, you take out those 2 travel days, it's Sunday through Thursday, and Thursday was a recreational day. Right, Thursday, we went around and saw some sights in the area. So really, we didn't even do a whole lot on Thursday either. We had a game night that night with the kids at the congregation, but, in terms of like things that required a whole lot of work from us, it was Sunday through Wednesday. That's 4 days. But still in 4 days, we were able to do so much. And again, it's not us, it's God. I mean, if you are thinking about a short-term mission trip, it's difficult, right? There's a lot of things that you're going to have to plan. There's a lot of different people that you're going to have to talk to, especially if you're the one organizing it. But even if you just go on a short-term mission trip, those are the kind of trips that it can change your life, right? And it doesn't even have to be somewhere exotic. You don't have to go into the Amazon rainforest. You can go to a small town in Illinois. You can go to a big city in Tennessee. You can, travel down to Dallas or travel up to Washington or, wherever you are, there's mission work to do where you are. You don't have to go somewhere super far away to do mission work. You can do mission work just, couple blocks down from where you live. You can do mission work a couple towns over, a couple states over. There's so much work to be done. And again, full-time missionaries, they're amazing. They're fantastic. I'm so thankful that we have people like that. But don't underestimate the power that you can have by giving up a couple weeks of your life to go and help other people. They're going to notice that. They're going to see, well, this guy, he could have taken off work and just gone on vacation. He could be at home with his wife and kids, or she could be visiting her family, or they just be at home relaxing and re-energizing. But no, they're choosing to be here. They're choosing to work. They're choosing to serve other people. They're choosing to give up things of them, their time, their energy, their money, whatever, to help other people. That's a short-term mission work. It's just so beneficial. And as I mentioned before, this is the first mission trip that I've been on. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So you get someone who's been on a few more mission trips, or is a little bit older and more experienced than I am, you can do even more good than we did. There's just, like I said, there's just so much good that can be done in a short-term mission work. Mm-hmm. And this was just a short little report of what we did up in Wisconsin. There's more that I could have said, and there's probably people that I'm forgetting to thank. The elders up there at Spencer, the preacher up there, all the parents of the people who went with us. Just so many people to thank. But above all, thanking God for that opportunity to go up there and to meet other Christians and to meet some people in the community and just try and be a good influence, trying to be an encouragement.
Well, hey, thank you for sharing the insights that you learned, and thank you for the work that you did up there, and thank you for organizing it, because without your organization and stuff, the trip wouldn't have happened. So thank you for taking on the reins to make it happen, and did a lot of good, but all for God's glory in the end. And
absolutely,
and great, and it just shows the power that people can have on other people, and shows the power that the gospel can have on the lives of others as well. And it shows that the gospel is a lot more than just a book. It's service too. And Jesus demonstrated that as well. So thank you again for sharing your thoughts. Isaiah would make a great podcast guest. In fact, he's been on quite a few podcasts himself. You can check out all the podcasts that Isaiah's been on by listening to all 79 episodes at the time of this recording on our website, tteoj.com. And now there's a ton more at the time of this release. But Isaiah is a great podcast co-host and even a great podcast coming on and sharing his experience and stuff. And so we're thankful for him. And even though he does have corny introductions, do you have any corny endings?
Kind of sprung that on me. Hang on, give me a second. Blue Skidoo, we can too.
And with that, we'll end in prayer. Father God, we're so thankful for the joy that you give us, for the opportunities that we have to come and to talk about the work that's being done around the world for your glory. We're thankful for Isaiah, the trip that he organized. We're thankful for all those who organized trips over this past spring break, and we pray that you continue to bless them. We pray that you continue to bless the work that they did there. We pray that fruitful results come from those works, and ultimately all praise and honor is given to you. Thankful for all the many blessings you bestow upon us, but most importantly, we're thankful for your son Jesus, who died on the cross for our sins, and it's through him that we have a hope in heaven with you one day. We pray all this in your son's name. Amen.